Nothing matters. 3 syllables that make most people flinch. But what if those 3 syllables are the most freeing words you'll ever hear? You're standing at the edge of something, and every voice around you, your parents, your boss, your feed, is telling you what the next step should be. Go to school, get the job, buy the house, follow the script. But here's the thing, there is no script. There never was. And the moment you realize that, something strange happens. The panic you'd expect, it doesn't show up. Relief does. Most people hear the word nihilism and picture someone slumped on a couch, staring at a ceiling, too defeated to move. That image is everywhere. Movies, memes, late-night spirals on social media. But that image is a lie. A useful lie for people who need you to keep following their rules. But a lie all the same. The real story of nihilism is almost the opposite of what you've been sold. And by the end of this, you might look at your own life and realize the pressure you've been carrying was never yours to begin with. Let's go back to where this started. Not with a sad teenager on the internet, but with a man who had one of the sharpest minds in the history of Western thought. Friedrich Nietzsche was not moping around in the 1880s feeling sorry for himself. He was furious. He was on fire. He looked at the moral systems people had been handed for centuries. Christianity, Platonic ideals, the comfortable certainties of tradition, and he saw the cracks. These systems were breaking apart. People were losing faith, not just in God, but in the whole framework that told them what was good, what was bad, and what their lives were supposed to mean. Nietzsche didn't cry about this. He wrote about it with the energy of someone who just kicked open a locked door. His notebooks from those years are packed with hundreds of notes on nihilism. Not to mourn it, to wrestle with it, to ask the harder question, if the old meaning is gone, what do you build next? Half a century later, Albert Camus picked up that thread. He sat in wartime France and wrote about a man pushing a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down forever. Sisyphus, the ultimate image of pointless effort. But Camus didn't use it to say life is hopeless. He used it to say something far stranger. He said you have to imagine Sisyphus happy, not because the task has meaning, because Sisyphus chose to keep pushing. The act itself became his. The boulder, the hill, the sweat, all of it belonged to him. Nobody handed him that struggle. He owned it. So if the actual thinkers behind nihilism weren't wallowing in despair, where did the depressing version come from? Hollywood, your feed. The cultural machine that needs simple stories with clear villains. A study looked at the top-grossing films and found that 3 out of 4 nihilist characters showed classic signs of depression. Flat affect, empty eyes, giving up. That's not philosophy. That's a casting choice, and it's stuck. On social media, most posts mentioning nihilism pair it with words like sad, pointless, or worthless. The word became a costume, and the costume became the whole identity. But here's what nobody tells you. When researchers actually put people face to face with meaninglessness, not in a movie theater, but in a clinical setting, the results were the opposite of what you'd guess. A therapist named Irvin Yalom spent decades working with people crushed by anxiety, people who couldn't sleep, couldn't decide, couldn't breathe under the weight of all the things they were supposed to be. And his approach was radical. He didn't hand them a new meaning. He sat with them in the emptiness. He asked them to look at the void, the raw fact that the universe doesn't care about your 5-year plan, and just stay there. Don't run. Don't fill the silence with another goal or another distraction. Just sit. What happened next surprised even the skeptics. In one trial, people who practiced these void reflections saw their anxiety drop by more than half. Not a little dip, a dramatic fall. And it wasn't because they found a new purpose. It was because they stopped clinging to purposes that were never theirs. The pressure cooker lost its steam. The lid came off, and what was left underneath wasn't emptiness. It was space. Think about that for a second. You've been told your whole life that meaning is what keeps you going, that without it, you'll collapse. But for these people, letting go of borrowed meaning didn't cause a collapse. It caused a release. The anxiety wasn't coming from the void. It was coming from the desperate attempt to avoid it. Now you might be thinking, okay, fine. Maybe it helps with anxiety. But doesn't it also destroy motivation? If nothing matters, why bother creating anything? Why bother trying? This is where it gets genuinely surprising. Because some of the most bold teams on the planet use this exact idea as a creative tool. At one of the world's most ambitious innovation labs, workshops often start with a strange prompt. Assume nothing matters. Wipe the whiteboard. Forget the market research, the customer profile, the quarterly targets. just start from zero. And when teams do that, the ideas that come out aren't lazy or nihilistic in the depressed movie character sense. They're wild. They're bold. They're the kind of ideas that only show up when you've removed every invisible fence. One study at a major research university tested this directly. They gave teams a blank starting point, no assumptions, no inherited frameworks, and measured the novelty of their work. The jump was dramatic. Not a slight improvement, a leap. The emptiness didn't kill creativity. It unlocked it. Because when you strip away the should, you find the want. And want is a far better engine than obligation. But here's the catch. And this is where honest thinking demands we slow down. Not everyone lands on their feet when the floor disappears. For some people, the absence of given meaning doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like falling. You've probably felt this yourself at some point. That moment after a big change, a breakup, a graduation, a layoff, where the structure vanishes and you're just standing there with nothing telling you what to do next. The options feel infinite, and infinite options can paralyze as easily as they can liberate. This is a real objection. Critics of the whole embrace the void approach argue that without inherited values, people don't soar. They freeze. They scroll. They default to whatever the algorithm feeds them, which is just a different kind of borrowed meaning, only less coherent. The tyranny of too many doors is real. And pretending it isn't would be dishonest. So what bridges that gap between liberation and actually building something? Small moves. Absurdly small. Researchers ran a 2-week writing program where people spent just a few minutes each day putting words on a page about what they personally cared about. Not what they were supposed to care about. What they actually valued when nobody was watching. After 2 weeks, their sense of meaning jumped by roughly a third. Not because someone handed them a purpose, because they built one, word by word, from scratch. Another group tried something even simpler. 1 sentence a day. Just one line about a personal value. What do I actually believe today? People stuck with it, and their sense of control over their own lives climbed steadily. The void didn't need to be filled with a grand vision. It needed a single stroke on a blank canvas, then another, then another. And this isn't just a Western trick dressed up in philosophical clothing. Eastern traditions have been sitting with emptiness for thousands of years. The Pali Canon, one of the oldest Buddhist collections, references emptiness again and again, not as a problem to solve, but as a doorway to insight. The Tao Te Ching, written over 2,000 years ago, pairs nothingness with being in almost every chapter. The pot is useful because of the empty space inside it. The room is livable because of the space between the walls. Emptiness isn't the enemy. It's the raw material. Now here's where people raise the moral panic flag. If nothing has built-in meaning, then nothing is truly wrong either, right? Steal, lie, hurt, who cares? This is the fear that keeps nihilism locked in its villain costume. But the evidence tells a different story. When researchers surveyed people who believe values are built by communities rather than handed down by cosmic law, most of them still held firmly to honesty and fairness. Letting go of a divine rulebook didn't turn them into monsters. It turned them into people who chose their ethics deliberately, which, if anything, made those ethics stronger. You follow a rule differently when you've picked it yourself than when someone threatened you into compliance. Something shifts in your brain too. Literally. When people reflect on goals they chose for themselves, rather than goals assigned to them, a region tied to self-reflection lights up with noticeably more activity. Your brain treats self-chosen purpose differently than imposed purpose. It's not just a feeling. It's a clear difference in how your mind engages. The meaning you build hits differently than the meaning you borrow. So nihilism, stripped of its costume, isn't a pit. It's a clearing. The old structures crumble, and what's left isn't wreckage. It's open ground. But open ground demands something of you. It asks you to pick up a tool and start building. Not because the universe told you to, because you decided to. And that distinction changes everything. The pressure to live someone else's life, to chase someone else's version of success, to perform meaning you don't feel, all of that evaporates when you accept that the slate is blank. What remains is yours, fully, honestly, uncomfortably yours. If this shifted something in how you think about meaning or meaninglessness, drop a comment and tell me which part hit hardest. I genuinely want to know. And if you want to go deeper into how philosophy actually changes the way you live, not just the way you think, there's more on this channel waiting for you. Remember Sisyphus, pushing that boulder up the hill, watching it roll back and pushing again? Camus said to imagine him happy. But maybe happy isn't quite the right word. Maybe the word is free.